did you really think I wasn't going to pre-order the Brent Key hoodie? Because I did. Got it in yesterday. I looked, so if you want one, you can buy it. I think it's section 103. They have the like exclusive license to that ATL branding and a lot of the stuff. I looked at what it cost and I said, it don't matter what it cost. Send it to me. And they did. Because I'm a real Tech fan. So, huge game, must win. It seems like we say that every week. This is an absolutely must win. 3:30 this Saturday at Bobby Dodd Stadium against Miami. And researching for this video, it is eerie how similar these two teams are, or where they've ended up at this point in the season. They didn't start out that way. So if you think back, I believe Miami was like preseason number 10, or they were top 15. I'm almost certain of. Tyler Van Dyke was in the Heisman conversation at one point, or there was like rumors of that. He was supposed to be really good, elite quarterback, and things kind of unraveled quickly. And it's kind of odd when you think, like, it's not often that a team makes a coaching change and then they're like a preseason like top 10 or top 15 team, especially from where Miami is coming from. You know, this ain't the 80s anymore, or the early 90s. The Dwayne Johnson doesn't play there anymore. In fact, Miami's been in the ACC for like 20 years, and they've only won their division once, and that was when Mark Richt coached them and wanted to fight some referees on a bad holding call in a bowl game. Anyways, truth be told, I like Mark Richt. I think he's a good dude. So Miami starts off the season, beats Bethune Cookman, nobody, 70-13. Get a win against Southern Miss. In the following week, 30-7. And it wasn't as easy to see this at the time. They went on the road at Texas A&M, who was also projected by a lot of people to like win the SEC West. Jimbo Fisher is struggling mightily there now. He would be on a very hot seat if he wasn't signed a 10-year deal, like $100 million. I think it was the biggest contract ever in college football at the time he signed it. They lose to Texas A&M on the road in their third game of the season, 17-9. It seems like that's where their offensive struggles kind of start, and that was coming off of a bye. So they had a bye week to get prepared, only able to muster up 9 points. Sounds familiar. Then the train started coming off the track. They get upset at home by Middle Tennessee State, 45-31. Tyler Van Dyke suffers a shoulder injury that he's still having issue with. We'll talk about that more later. And then kind of similar to when you look at Virginia, where they lose to Syracuse like 22-20. Miami gives North Carolina, who I do think is a good team, everything they want at home, 27-24. And Tyler Van Dyke throws for like 496 yards in that game. Then they go and get a win the following week in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech, 20-14. They get blown out by Duke the following week, 45-21. Then they go on the road at Virginia. It takes every bit of regulation and 4 overtimes to beat Virginia 14-12. And Florida State is still scoring points on Miami. They beat them 45-3. Got beat worse than we did by them. Very embarrassing rivalry game. Not able. I can't decide whether I want to put this paper down or not. I'm not done with it. Mario Cristobal, pretty upset. But But I'll tell you this, Mario Cristobal and I feel like Brent Key are kind of similar too. They both coached at Miami. They both coached at Alabama when Alabama was very successful. And they are still very successful. I don't buy into this 2-loss Alabama, Nick Saban's done. That's nonsense. Both offensive line coaches, very focused on offensive line. So let's look at team stats. So rushing yards per game, Miami's averaging 131 points. They're averaging 3.7 yards per rush attempt, and they have 11 rushing touchdowns on the season. But this is a passing team. When Miami's been able to be successful, it's throwing the ball. They're averaging 267 yards a game through the air. They've thrown 9 picks. Defensively, they're a better team than Virginia Tech is. In fact, I think they're a fairly good defense. They're ranked 38th overall. They do struggle a little bit against the pass, being ranked 66 overall. They're giving up about 227 passing yards a game on defense and 126 rushing yards a game on defense. So they're ranked 37th in the country against the rush, and they're giving up about 353 yards per game. So where we're so similar, this is also a must-win for Miami. Miami's final 3 games are on the road at Tech, on the road at Clemson, and then they come home to finish up the year with Pitt. I don't think they're beating Clemson. They're 4-3 right now, so they desperately need to beat Tech and then find a way to beat Pitt. I'm assuming Clemson, they don't have much of a chance in. But that being said, Clemson got beat by Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a much better team than Miami is currently. So, Miami has injury issues with their starting quarterback, Van Dyke. Key and Cristobal are being very similar and being very close to the vest and not really saying who's going to start, making both teams. I think Cristobal even said in a press conference, like, there's no advantage to saying whether your starter's going to play or not, or who's going to start the game at quarterback. Hold on. Someone's trying to call me. We're doing rec talk. We ain't got time to take phone calls. Key being very similar. I don't think Sims will play. We'll get into the tech side of it a little bit later. Their backup, Jake Garcia, high 4-star quarterback. I think he struggled this year though. He is actually from California, transferred to Valdosta. And you might be thinking, well, why would you go from one talent-rich state to another? Well, it was because of COVID. California shut down all sports due to COVID protocols. I have no opinion on that, by the way. I don't want to get into it. But he transferred to Valdosta, then ended up transferring to Loganville. Was highly recruited and has struggled this year. In fact, so it almost seems, and he's not as bad as Gibson, but it seems like he's kind of performed in kind of a similar way to Gibson. And they actually have played Jakari Brown, who is a freshman for them, kind of similar to Pyron, that's shown some success. So I don't know as much about Miami, so I don't know if Brown will start or Garcia. But I am certain that Pyron's going to start for Tech. It makes all the sense in the world. Pyron can play in this game and against North Carolina and still retain his red shirt. That would be his 4 games, and sit him for Georgia and sit him if we were able to make a bowl, which I've seen people post on, like, in the Facebook group that CBS Sports is like projecting us to make a bowl. But in my mind, that would mean that we would have to be favored in 2 of our remaining 3 games. we're going to be 30-point dogs to Georgia, at least. And there ain't no way we're going to be favored against North Carolina. And we're only a 1.5 point favorite. It might have moved some since last I looked at it against Miami. So Vegas is saying this is a toss-up game, even with Tech having, excuse me, home field advantage. So I don't really understand how you can project Tech to make a bowl right now. I think we're working against the odds to make a bowl currently. So let's talk about Tech. So what do we have to do to win this game Saturday? So it's going to be very difficult for us to establish the run. That being said, in the games that we've been successful at since Key has taken over, we've been able to establish the run and then kind of work the pass in off of the run, which is traditionally how you want to do it. I'm thinking about Duke. We're able to run the ball well. Pitt, we were able to run the ball really well, and we were able to establish the run against Virginia Tech to get a good comeback victory in Blacksburg. Smith played a lot more. I had a really strong touchdown run, looked really good. It's going to be tough to do that against Miami. In fact, I think it'll be the toughest challenge we've had yet to try and establish the ball on the ground. Miami's more talented than we are, so it's not going to be something we're just going to out-talent people. That's rarely going to be the case with where we are right now. So whenever I break down these games, I think, well, if I'm the defensive coordinator for Miami, what am I going to do? It's going to be the same thing that every other team has done. I'm going to stack the box, and I'm going to play man coverage on the outside. And I'm going to say, look, if Tech's going to beat us, it's going to be through there. So that means we're going to have to win man-to-man matchups on the outside. So I'm thinking Jenkins is going to need to have a good game coming down with 50-50 balls, which is a good bet because he's 6'7", so he's going to be like 7 inches taller than whoever's defending against him. We're going to have to work to pick up the blitz, and Pyron is going to have to make the right read off the blitz. So I'm sure you'll see some zone blitzing. Even we do it too, where we'll pull a defensive end into coverage. That being said, Pyron has shown a lot of moxie and just a lot of really good football IQ and knowing where to put the ball. It reminds me a lot of George Godsey. He's with a little bit more athleticism, and the team is really seems to rally behind Pyron. This is a kid. Key talked about that won 3 state titles in Alabama with 2 different schools. This is a kid that knows how to win, and he's with experience, in-game experience. I just imagine he's going to get better and better and better. So we're probably going to have to establish the run off the pass. We're going to have to show that we can have success passing the ball to where they'll respect that and might back off a little in the zone and run the ball off of it. On defense, it's going to be tough because we're going to have to get pressure, and we've had trouble doing that. We were able to get some sacks against Virginia Tech. I feel like Miami's got a better offensive line, and we've had trouble with, hey, we can't get pressure with our down 3 or down 4, depending on if we're running a 3-4 or 4-3 defense. So we're having to blitz. The problem with blitzing is if you don't get to the quarterback, you generally have someone very open with space. So we're going to have to figure that out, either through stunning and bringing linebackers, showing them off the edge, stunning it in outside, bringing them in, something. We're going to have to get pressure. That being said, we've had very good linebacker play. That's going to be critical with Thomas and Ely. And Clayton Powell-Lee has been all over the field. Now, we are number 2 in the country in turnover differential. You know, it took every bit of 4 turnovers against Virginia Tech to get that win. And I think we'll be +2 turnover differential against Miami. You know, we're gonna be able to get some turnovers. The key is gonna be scoring points off those turnovers and not just settling for a field goal. You know, we got to punch that ball in the end zone and get 6. We got to clean up special teams. We can't. It's very difficult to win when you give up non-offensive touchdowns. You know, when you give up pick 6, which we did last week, and a special teams touchdown, which we did last week. You know, it took getting 4 turnovers to overcome those things. So from what Key said, it seems like Shanahan's just kicking out of the coverage, and we're all, you know, once we get down there, we're collapsing in on the runner and not staying in our lanes. So we got to be disciplined in our punt coverage. So if we're able to, you know, not give up non-offensive touchdowns, establish the pass, and build the run off of that, and play good coverage, we're gonna have to hold them. Yeah, they've got athletic receivers, and we're gonna have to lock them up and we're gonna have to probably play a lot of man coverage and blitz to get pressure on whoever plays quarterback. They have very athletic receivers, because we're gonna have some big game in the secondary. That being said, I do expect a good turnout Saturday. It's a 3:30 kick, and I think we win this game by 3 points. By 3 points or a touchdown. I think we're tracking in the right way. I think we have a good quarterback in Pyron. I don't think Gibson sees another snap at Georgia Tech. I think his days are done. It wouldn't surprise me if he were to transfer out, even if he has to sit out a year to do it. But very exciting. If you can't tell, I'm really high on Key. I'm going to make a video actually about the Tech coaching situation and who I think is the right fit for us, whether or not he's already there. I guess for a score prediction, you know, 28 points to score last week was a lot. We hadn't done that since Western Kentucky. And I don't know the last time we did it against a Power 5 opponent. I don't know if Collins has ever done it. Well, probably North Carolina last year was the last time we scored more than 28 points. I'm going to go with 28. We'll go 28-23. I think we win this game. I think Pyron takes another big step up, has a big game, eclipses 300 yards passing. Jenkins, Carter, and McCollum all have big days, and I think we're able to get more than 100 yards rushing. We'll probably have around 460, 470 yards offense. Hold them to right around 400. And I think we have a big special teams play of our own. Long field goal. Stewart hasn't missed since he's taken over the reins kicking the ball. So a lot of things to be excited at Tech. If we're going to make a bowl, this is an absolute must win. If we were to lose this game, we'd have to beat North Carolina and Georgia. And we're not going to beat Georgia. It's going to be very difficult to beat North Carolina. I'll be at the game. I expect to see you all there. See you Saturday.